Hey everybody, welcome to Two Non-Yarn Snobs. No, I don't have our fancy graphics with me today. Today is October 1st, that means it's Vlogtober. You'll notice that there's only one non-yarn snob here. Sabrina and I were talking about Vlogtober this morning, and we decided that since we live about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half apart, that it would be easier if we each took a day and we'd just switch off days. Now then, mine likely won't be uploaded on the day that it's done. I try to only come to town on Tuesdays because my husband gets paid on Tuesdays. So I do my grocery shopping and bill paying and whatever running around needs to be done, and I try to do it just on Tuesdays. Now then, I will be uploading again on Friday because I do have an appointment with the womb clinic. It should be my final appointment and they should release me. And it occurs to me I never told y'all how I ended up having to go to the womb clinic. So I'll do that now. The Friday before Memorial Day, I was helping out. And I hate saying where because it's not her fault, but I was helping out at Sabrina's shop. Usually, because she's a dog groomer, usually holidays, the days before the holidays are huge. They're slammed. And she was expecting upwards of 30 dogs that day. And again, for those of y'all not in the U.S., Memorial Day is the last Monday of May. And so that weekend prior to that Monday is always Memorial Day weekend. Post offices are closed that Monday, and it's a bank holiday. It's, you know, so nothing happens except it's considered the unofficial opening weekend of summer. So swimming pools are opened. Cookouts happen. You know, it'll be the first big cookout of the season. It's a big thing. I'm not exactly certain that I understand the origins of Memorial Day. As a matter of fact, I know I don't understand the origins of Memorial Day, but at any rate, it's considered the opening weekend of summer. So that Friday, Sabrina thought she was going to be slammed with upwards of 30 dogs, and I told her, why don't I come in and if I can wash them, or I can dry, or, you know, whatever. I could take in and put them in kennels until whoever's washing and drying can get to them. You know, I can help. But because I have degenerative disc disease in my back and my knees and everywhere else, let's face it, Sabrina thought that bathing dogs would be too hard on me because it's a whole lot of bending over. So she decided that I should dry. So I got dressed that morning and went there thinking I would be bathing. So I put on flip-flops, thinking maybe, you know, my feet probably will get wet and I don't want to wear, you know, the other shoes that I have, which are just slip-on, but they're fabric, and I really didn't want them falling apart, or just getting soaked for that matter, because I know that my feet don't need to stay wet. But Sabrina decided that I should dry, and so in a grooming shop you use an industrial dryer. It looks a lot like those old school Electrolux canister vacuums, only the canister part is smaller, and instead of sucking air they blow air. Well, so it has this big, and I say big, I'm talking probably a 4-inch hose with a nozzle on it that comes down to about an inch. for the drying. And those hoses get really hot. And Sabrina told me so. She said they'll burn you, so, you know, keep them away from your legs. Well, and I can't feel my feet because of the diabetes. So while I felt it on my legs and moved away, I did not feel it on my feet. I did not feel it on my toes. And I dried from 7:30 that morning till about 10 or 10:30 is when I finally took my first break. And I was sitting in Sabrina's office, and I happened to look down at my feet and thought, those toes don't look right. Particularly my big toe on my left foot. I thought the toenail looked a little off, wrong, not normal. So I walked out of her office and I said, I think I need to call my doctor and get in and have him check out my toe. Something's not right. And Sabrina bent over and looked, and she nearly flipped out. I had given myself second and third degree burns on 6 toes and the top of my right foot. So, being that it was a holiday weekend, I figured my doctor's office, because banks and post offices are closed that Monday, I figured the doctor's office would be closed as well. So Tuesday, I got up and I went to an urgent care clinic. And the doctor at the urgent care clinic said, yep, that's second and third degree burns. Yep, you need to go to the one clinic. Nope, we don't give referrals. You'll have to go see your PCP. So, okay, so I did not go to my PCP that Tuesday because I thought they would be slammed after a holiday weekend. It happens. Well, so I called and I explained that I needed a referral to one clinic, and they called back and said, yeah, he wants to see you. That happens too. Might as well go in and get a lecture, because that's what he does. I love him. He's a great doctor. He's been my doctor since my mom and I moved here to Arkansas. That was 32 years ago. So he knows me. I'll let him lecture me. I don't like it, but I'll let him lecture me. So he looked at my toes and he said, we might can hold off on the one clinic, but they're definitely going to need they're probably going to need some debriding. So he prescribed me an ointment, told me how to take care of them, sent me home. I went back the following Friday, as per his orders, and he looked at them and he said, yep, they need debrided, and yep, you need to go to the one clinic. So one clinic in Morrilton happens to be held on Fridays. So his nurse called around trying to find the wound doctor who was in surgery, and convinced him to see me there at outpatients between surgical cases before he was to go to one clinic. And Dr. Post did some debriding, and so anyway, that right there is how I ended up going to one clinic. I'm not going to go into any more depth. You don't need to know what all happened. It was, let me just suffice it to say, it was gross, and it's taken a while to heal, but healed it is, and that's great. I didn't lose a toe. I figured I was going to lose the small toe on my left foot and my big toe as well, because they got it the worst, and I was afraid I was going to lose both of those toes, but thankfully, by the grace of God and good doctoring, I did not. So Vlogtober for us may not be all knitting or crocheting related, as you have now found out. Currently, I am working on a campfire cardigan, And I'm using Red Heart Super Saver in the Fruity Stripes colorway. And this is one half of it. And I've already got the seam for the sleeve sewn. I still have to weave in ends, and because I am bigger than what the pattern says, I have to add rows in the center on both front and the back. So what I do is I do the seam. I don't know if you can, how well you're going to be able to see this. Well, let me pull that hook out. So I do the seam for the arm, and then I start doing granny rows down either the front or the back and around the bottom and back up the other side, and I just keep going in a big circle like that. So these start out as hexagons, 6-sided. I think that's a hexagon. I don't know. This will be my second one. I've had this one started longer than the other. My husband gave me this yarn for Christmas. He gave me 4 skeins of this Red Heart Super Saver Fruity Stripes as a Christmas gift. And so I'm working on that today. I started another one after this one because I knew I wasn't going to have enough with the 4 skeins to finish it. And Sabrina Jerry got Sabrina like 5 or 6 skeins of the Fruity Stripes. And she made a sweater, a back-o'-day sweater, that ended up not fitting her. She gave it to one of Jerry's sisters-in-law, I think. Yes. She gave it to Jerry's sister-in-law. It fit her, and she had some left over, so she gave me the skein and a little bit that she had left over. And I figured that's still not going to be enough to fit my big self. All of this big sexiness. I ordered 6 more skeins because I was thinking, you know, I might like it pretty long. I don't know. Whatever I don't use, then maybe it'll be enough to give back to Sabrina and she can make a sweater that actually will fit her. So that's my plan right now. But I bought 6 more. I ordered 6 more skeins from Red Heart, and I had to order because the 2 Walmarts closest to me quit carrying the Fruity Stripes. They have other stripes like the peacock and I don't know what else. It's just I only know peacock because I've used it before. But they quit carrying the Fruity Stripes colorway, so I had to order from Red Heart. And really, it was not all that bad. The 6 skeins with shipping was less than $25. It really wasn't all that bad. Okay, so that's what I'm working on now. So I have one campfire finished. Sabrina finally wove in the ends on her campfire, so we'll be showing both of those on our next full episode, which will be next Tuesday is when we're going to film that. Because Sabrina texted me yesterday and she said, I don't think I'm going to have any of those to show. And I was like, come on, you got a week. You've got a week. And she said, yeah, but she's trying to get an Afghan finished for Jerry. And it's camouflage colors, granny squares. And she's weaving in ends and trying to get it done. And let me tell you, Sabrina absolutely hates weaving in ends. Like we said the other day, that was her mama's job. Well, and her mama's not here to weave in anyway. So she has a hard time weaving in ends just because, you know, mama should be here and doing that, right? Well, okay, so that's where I'm at right now. I'm working on my campfire. What else am I working on? I'm still working on Mark's socks. His birthday is on the 7th. He's not getting them for his birthday. I'm a slacker of a sister. I think he's going to be lucky to get a happy birthday text message. Okay, so then I thought, I don't think I've ever told y'all how I learned how to crochet. So I think I'll do that right now. And comment and let me know if this is just an Arkansas phenomenon, if it's just a southern phenomenon. I don't know. Because the only cemeteries that I've really ever gone to have been here in Arkansas. Once a year they'll have a decoration day. I'm sorry, I'm in a park, and it's not exactly the safest park. So I'm looking around and making sure nobody's coming up to me, and my doors are locked. And when I say it's not the safest park, there have been muggings, assaults, rapes. I think at least one alligator attack. I think the police patrol out here quite often. I don't know. Anyway, back to my story. But I digress. So anyway, cemeteries here in Arkansas have what's called Decoration Day. And they go out, the families go out once a year and they put down new flowers. If there's a caretaker, they put down new flowers. If there is not a caretaker, then, as was in my case, then the families take out their lawnmowers, rakes, shovels, limb loppers, pruning shears, weed eaters, what have you, and they clean up the cemetery. And then there's a potluck lunch, and then there's, poetry reading, singing, prayer, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. Visiting, getting to know your neighbors. On February 8th of 1977, my paternal grandfather was scheduled for a AAA repair. Now, then, if you don't know what a AAA is, it's an abdominal aortic aneurysm. And he was scheduled for surgery. Now then, the aorta is the biggest artery. It feeds out of the left ventricle, makes the arch behind the heart, and then it basically, the aorta basically follows the spinal cord. It sits right next to your spinal column and is protected by your spinal column, and it goes all the way down from your heart to your tailbone where it divides off and becomes your femoral arteries. Now then, an aneurysm is a weakening in the arterial wall, and the higher your blood pressure, the weaker your arterial wall can become. And if you develop an aneurysm, it'll balloon. That's basically what it is. It's a spot that is weak, that instead of being, that big around, becomes that big around, it balloons out. And just like a balloon, if you get too high a blood pressure, too much air, it'll blow, just like a balloon. So what they do is then they go in and they put a mesh sleeve around it to help reinforce the wall. So what happened in my grandfather's case is he was on the operating table. Surgeon took hold of the spot where the sleeve needed to go, and his aneurysm blew. Now then, you can develop an aneurysm anywhere. You can develop one in your brain, in your abdominal cavity, in your chest cavity, anywhere you have a blood vessel, you can develop an aneurysm. Granddad's just happened to be in his abdominal cavity, and it just happened to be on his aorta. The problem with an aneurysm on your aorta blowing is you have seconds seconds to save a life. And the surgeon could not get the sleeve on quick enough, and my grandfather bled out. It happens. It can happen at home, and you'll just, you hear of people that just drop dead, that said 1 second, I don't feel so good, and then they're dead. Well, that's probably because they had an aortic aneurysm that blew. They can be pretty much a silent killer. You may never know that you have an aneurysm. You may not. But at any rate, Granddad's blew, and he passed away on the operating table. And Granddad was one of 6 children. He had 2 brothers and 3 sisters. And the oldest of his 3 sisters announced this particular decoration day, which happens to be Memorial Day weekend, at the cemetery where my great-grandparents and grandparents are at, and my dad, that she wasn't going to be able to go that year. So it's Memorial Day. It's the last weekend of May 1977. I was still 6 years old. My birthday is June 3rd, so my birthday was going to be the following week. And Aunt Bess said, I can't go. I can't do it. Which is understandable. She was really having a hard time with the fact that my grandfather died. She really was not handling that well, which I can understand. Having lost my oldest brother, I can understand. But her favorite pastime was to crochet. And if she was sitting down, if they didn't have any company and she was sitting down, then she was crocheting. And sometimes she would be crocheting while they had company. I mean, it just depended. She and Uncle Farmer never had any kids. It was just the 2 of them. And so Dad decided that he and I would come up for Decoration Day. We were living in Alabama at the time. And he didn't want my grandmother going to Decoration Day by herself. Not the first year after my grandfather died. He didn't want her going through that by herself. Even knowing that the other 2 sisters would be there at the cemetery, my Aunt Paul and my Aunt Shin. But he really wanted to be there. But because Aunt Bess had announced that she wasn't going, Dad decided we needed to go over and see Aunt Bess. And I know I'm running up on 24 minutes, and I need to hurry up with this story. But at any rate, so we go over to Aunt Bess's house. Dad tells me, your Aunt Bess is having a hard time. You need to be really sweet. Try to be quiet. Don't run around the house. Don't, just, he knew how I was. I was a spastic 6-year-old. So I'm sitting there on the couch, and the adults are talking, and there's a lull in the conversation, and I looked over at my dad, and Dad looks at me, and I said, Dad, can I say something to Aunt Bess now? And Dad said, sure, go ahead. So I looked at Aunt Bess, and I walked over to her, and I put my arms around her, and I told her that I was sorry that she was so sad that Granddad had died. And that, but that I wanted her to teach me how to crochet. I was 6. And since crocheting was her favorite pastime, I thought, what better way to be nice to Aunt Bess than to have her teach me how to crochet. So she sat me in her lap and pulled out a yard-long strip of yarn. Let me tell you, no scrap was too small for Aunt Bess. She used them all. So she pulls out this yard-long piece of, 1970s wind tuck or whatever. And golden, well, actually, this color orange. Anyway, kind of a harvest gold, you know. And she pulled out a crochet hook and she showed me how to chain. And I proceeded to spend the rest of my time there in her lap chaining away. And if it wasn't good enough, she'd pull it out and say, try it again. And that's what we did until I got a nice even chain. And that's all she taught me that day. Well, we came back and visited at least once or twice a year, so every time we would come back and visit, Aunt Bess would teach me a new crochet stitch. So the first one, that first day, was how to chain. And here come people walking by. The second one was how to do a single crochet. The third one was how to do a half double crochet. The fourth one was how to do a double crochet, so on and so forth. The fifth one was how to do a granny square. So then I would go home to Alabama or Chicago, because we moved to Chicago in 1980. Yeah. And, yes. Anyway, we moved to Chicago in 1980, and, Aunt Bess died in 1984. Every time we'd go back, I would take her a square of the stitch that she had taught me last time. If it wasn't good enough, she would rip it out and tell me to try again. If it was good enough, she kept it. All those squares that she kept, then, we found when we were cleaning out her house. She put them in her pot holder drawer, and she had used them as pot holders. Or she'd lay them on the table and put set a hot pot on it, you know, or the skillet or whatever. And, you know, it's acrylic, so, you know, they're stained up, they're melty, they're well used. That's how I learned how to crochet. So I've been crocheting. I am 49 now. I have been crocheting for 43 years. Well, it will be 43 years come next Memorial Day weekend. And I've only, since my mom passed away, that's when I started actually finishing projects. I mean, up until I was 41 when Mama died, I would start. I mean, I'd done Afghans, you know, quick, easy Afghans, but never garments, never hats. I do scarves and Afghans before Mama died. Since Mama died, I've made sweaters, I've made Afghans, I've made hats, I've made socks. I took up, Mom and Dad taught me how to knit. You know, Mom taught me how to knit right-handed, Dad taught me how to knit left-handed, so I didn't know how to purl until I was almost 42. I mean, it wasn't long after Mom died that I learned how to purl, when I started going to our favorite knit shop, Knit Two Together, here in Russellville. So that's how I learned how to crochet. That's how I learned how to knit. And now you know the rest of the story. Comment. Let me know how you learned how to crochet or knit. What was your, how did you learn, and what was your first finished project? And if you go on our Ravelry group, Two Non-Yarn Snobs on the Ravelry, then post some pictures. Start a thread. Post some pictures telling me, you know, showing us what your first project was. As a matter of fact, I will start a thread asking what your first project was. We'd love to see pictures. Yeah. Alright. I hope you all have a good day. I hope you all have a blessed day. Sabrina will be vlogging tomorrow. Actually, what is this? Is this a podcast or a vlog? I don't know. Somebody educate me. I don't know. Alright. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.